So thank you all for that. If you're feeling the same as I am, we've had great panels, learned a lot, and we're all pretty exhausted. It would be my summary of this time of the day. And certainly with jet lag especially, I think it's time for me to go to bed shortly. But before I do, my name is Brian O'Connor from the ECHAlliance. I just wanted to finish off today's session by telling you, I know you've heard a lot during the day about the Alliance, but I just want to reflect on a couple of things. And that is to say that when COVID hit, I remember sitting at home and having a conversation with my wife. Now, you may not think this is relevant, but I do. And also, it was why we are now called also the Global Health Connector. It was entirely her decision that I had to do something. My normal life is that I'm away about 2 or 3 nights a week, which is why I've been able to preserve my 55-year-old marriage for this long, because the deal is that I've got to be away half the time. She said to me, "What are you going to do now you can't travel?" And I said, "I don't know." "Well, you better think of something, because I don't think I could cope with you at home every day of the week." So I called a number of friends, including Rich Scarfo from Health, who I've known for a long time. We called Anne Mon Johnson from American Telemedicine Association, some of you may know. I called Amit Thakur, who is our business partner and was our business partner in Africa, Professor Rahendra Gupta, based in India, and said, "Why don't we just meet? Because we've nothing to do." If you think about it, back to those days, all the appointments we had disappeared because you weren't going to meet anyone. So we had a 1-hour Zoom meeting, and everyone had a chance for 2 minutes each to introduce who they were, what did they do, where did they do it, and what do they want to do next. After that was over, I said, "Right, what are we going to do now? We've got 28 minutes left." And the answer was, "Well, we should meet again." And I said, "I'm not meeting again, because I'm sick and tired going to the same meeting to meet the same people, to talk about the same things, and all that ever happens is the only thing you agree on is to have another meeting." So I don't believe in that. So instead, we decided we would find a way to cooperate. And we formed the Global Health Connector Council at that time, and that has now evolved into many things, including the chart you see there. First thing we did was we realized each of us were doing our own thing, maybe in our own country. Many of us had events each year. And as a result, if we even connected those dots, that was a step forward in innovation. Because I reckon innovation is the most overused word in our entire language. And I often wonder does anybody know what innovation actually is anymore? But we therefore started to connect the dots on events. Couldn't travel. So what we decided to do was do around the world in 90 minutes, a video with speakers from Africa, India, Australia, US, Europe, etc. And remember, we're sitting around one table virtually, and we're able to make that decision there and then. I like to go into meetings and come out of meetings with at least 3 specific agreed actions, and then things do really happen. As a result, as you'll see, over the last couple of years, we have developed this relationship, and as we began to travel, I've been traveling quite a lot to some of these places. These are events which we have an influence in. We don't own them all. We're not an events company, don't want to be an events company. But what we are able to do is to take a particular topic, whether it's women's health, AI, whether it's healthy aging, whatever the topic is, we can now say, we know we can take that message and have a voice around the world. That's quite powerful in itself. And as a result of that, we participate in many of these events. In fact, next Sunday, I'm heading off to Kigali in Rwanda. And some of you who will know the UK government, former government, used to have a policy of sending immigrants to Rwanda. I went to Rwanda last year. I paid for it myself. I was not sent by the British government. And the British High Commissioner who met me in Rwanda said, "It's wonderful why did you come to Rwanda?" And I said, "Well, I was sent by the British government, but they still haven't paid the fare." Thank God that policy is now gone. What I would say is the point I'm making is we have now developed over a 3-year period, not only events, we've also developed a lot of connections and trust and respect in our partners, because people are the people we deal with. Organisations happen to be there. I deal very much on a person-to-person basis. So I'm looking forward to going to Kigali next week, where we're meeting with the African CDC. We're meeting with the African Digital Health Networks, which we have co-created over the last 12 months. The point of these things, and we're now creating through Andy, ecosystems in Africa. If you think back to what Andy was saying, these ecosystems are ecosystems which, by their nature, we have created a global network of real people, real organisations with real things to do, not simply a blah, blah organisation. We have to do blah, blah, because that's part of the world we live in. Some of that happened last month. It seems a long time ago, actually, last month. But we did that at the United Nations. We were fortunate enough to have Mali from the White House come and speak to us about women's health. We're tapping into the right levels of people, both from the White House, but also with the United Nations itself and the World Health Organization. That's important not just for our egos, but it's also important for our members. And it means that we are now beginning to influence some decisions so that the decisions that are made can then be funded in a particular way to assist all of us to deal with some of the challenges out there. Last week or two ago, Blethen was in Nashville with Eric and others, where I gather it was quite a show. I wasn't there, but I'm hoping to go there next year when I believe VIVE, one of the health events, is going to be there. We haven't forgotten about the US, just so you know. We haven't sort of ignored this huge country with a huge population and a huge budget, and if I may say so, an incredibly wasteful health system. This is my opinion, personal opinion. I think the amount of money that's wasted in this country is frightening. Andy's been doing his work as usual in developing our ecosystems in Central Florida, in Los Angeles, in Massachusetts. Now you see two others. We intend to keep building this network. Why? Because it has worked for the last 14 years for us. It's also worked for our members, our communities around the world. So when you have 80 ecosystems already and you add these to it, plus the ones we're developing in Africa and India, what we're developing here is a global health connector network. Not just words, not just a nice title. By the way, the title of Global Health Connector was made up in the same 1-hour phone call. That was one of the things we had to say. What are we calling ourselves? And we decided to call ourselves Global. What do? We do health, we connect, etc. Sounds pretty simple when you say it like that, but that's actually what happened in that one phone call. So what I would say to you is this. We need help to continue to develop as we are. We need our members, and they've been great, to support us and assist us as we develop our ideas and our reach. But above all, remember this. There are people out there in the world, consumers, patients, citizens, whatever you want to call them, who actually don't get help. Who certainly don't get help for what they need. We talked about women earlier. I'd also just put a plea in for men as well. We do exist. And we're delighted that women are the focus of attention. But I need to say this, we need help as well. I'm now assuming I can speak on behalf of all the men in the room. But I think the reality, it bugs me and has for years, is that many people who need help don't get it simply because they don't have a voice, or simply because the system doesn't allow them to get the help they need. It's like on the little island I live in, I remember saying there's a population of 85,000 in this island I live in the middle of the Irish Sea. And I remember saying to a group of friends recently, isn't the homeless problem terrible on this island? This island, by the way, was referred to by a former president of yours, President Barack Obama, as a tax haven. And people often say to me, you live in a tax haven. I say, yes, I can hear the jealousy in your voice. But yes, I do. Have done for 50 years. What I would say to you is this. The people on the island knew the problem was there, didn't want to acknowledge it, didn't want to do anything about it. So I took 15 of them on an evening tour in Douglas, in the capital of the island, about 2 weeks ago. I persuaded them and bribed them to come by offering them a very lavish dinner beforehand. And as a result, I took them round to where I knew the homeless were sleeping. The shock on these people's faces, many of whom are very wealthy, was, I think it literally was a huge shock. But so what? Usually what happens is people get shocked and then they move on with their lives. I took the opportunity to set up a fund with those 15 people. So far we've raised about £100,000 to begin the process of looking after those people. The reason I'm saying that is not for you to say, isn't he wonderful? Though you can if you want. But what I really want to say to you, is this. It is not enough to identify a need. It's not enough even to find the solutions. You have to actually make them work. Implementation is key. And we in the Alliance are entirely dedicated to the implementation of these good things that we should all do together. So thank you for listening. I'll pass you back to Bleddyn. Thank you.